Did you know teachers aren't humans? They're not allowed to show stress or age, have health problems, show fear, waste time, and most of all, fail. They're not even allowed to go to the bathroom. But that's okay, because we're here to talk about how we're all just playing a role. And at 3 o'clock, we get to be us again. 40 years ago, two 8-year-old boys were bored out of their minds in school, and they vowed one day they would do something about it. They did it to honor their friends. They did it to honor their classmates. They did it for the love of learning. I'm Matt, and this is Rob. And 40 years later, we get our turn. But now we're playing teacher.
Recording in progress.
Hey, welcome to Playing Teacher. Matt, this is Rob, and on with us is the Terminator. Rude.
Terminator. Is it Terminator 2
time this
or
morning, as you
3?
can see. She's wearing her grill and she has an eye patch on, and we're gonna get started with Playing Teacher.
Do you remember?
One of those mornings for Brooke, so don't worry, there's no technical issues here at all.
No, you know in Snow White when the old like haggard like witch presents the apple, she's like, here's your apple. You know.
A little bit. Yeah,
My hands are black.
I don't know what's going on with you, but yeah.
If ever there was a reason for listeners to check out the YouTube channel,
yeah, this
today,
would probably be.
This is it. This is.
And if you're a big Terminator fan, she definitely resembles Arnold Schwarzenegger after his battle in the second Terminator film.
Wait, Broogie.
I think it's great.
Broogie. She's a little trivia. In Terminator, is it Terminator 2 or 3 where he's like a metallic? It's 2, right? Terminator 2 with like a metallic guy.
Where he's liquid?
Yeah.
Where he's like liquid? Yeah, that's 2.
Does he ever speak?
Yeah, he talks to the kid.
Well, he talks to that. Well, he
Edward
speaks
Furlong.
in other people's voices. Like he takes over their bodies.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, not Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? The actual Terminator. Yeah.
Okay.
Big
Yeah.
character coming after him.
I know the words to that stupid movie. I love that movie.
Wait, so Matt, Broogie said that she has a surprise topic that she wants.
I said maybe I would talk about.
She had no.
Right.
Actually, she said she had a surprise question for us.
All right. Well, let's make this a day of surprises.
Okay.
Because especially now that she's looking the way she does, it's got to be good.
All right.
I don't like this.
Hold on.
Okay. I gotta turn my camera on.
Look, this could be a good look for you. You know, it's like
Oh shit! Wait, what happened?
how come you're a baby? You're a
I
baby.
shrunk her down real small so that
It's not that obvious then. They can move her around. Yeah, where with your baby? Oh, there she's back. Okay.
I'm laughing. This is ridiculous.
I think you have 3 books in back of you.
I think it's because of your background. You get a very busy background.
Hold on. Let me see if I can change this.
So
Should I even try? Who cares?
I don't know if you can.
Oh my god!
Clearly, this is a you problem. Because
this does connect to the topic we were potentially going to do. Is
hey.
wait,
you know what it was on? It was on. I have a green screen. I've never clicked that before. I don't know why. That's weird. That's really weird.
Okay.
All right. So I'm back.
Hit us with your surprises. Let's go.
Okay. So
we'll go with the surprises first before we talk about any other topics. Go ahead.
Okay. So last week, hi guys. Hi. So last week, we had back to school night. So we had to be there for a very long time. And I actually I started making friends, whatever, in my new job.
New position, new school, actually. Yeah.
New school. And it was my birthday. So the day of back to school. So I'm hanging out with these girls and they were like, oh, happy birthday. How old are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm in my 40s. And they're like, oh, we're like the same age. And I'm like, oh, how old are you guys? They're like, we're 27.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I could be your mother. We're not the same age. But it really got me thinking about age with the people that you work with,
Yeah.
and like how it really doesn't matter if they're 25 or 65.
Not to the teachers
Everybody,
or the educators. No, I don't
no.
think it comes in, to play. Maybe with experience, if they kind of, if they're really young and they don't know what they're doing,
So I
you
guess
feel like,
that was my question. Like, you're in a position where you're older, but there's men and women coming in who are in their 20s. Do you feel like you're their colleague? Do you feel like you're their parent? Do you feel like you're like, I don't feel older than them. I don't know.
Wow.
I
It's
started to,
interesting.
the older I got, when new people came in, and maybe it's different because there wasn't really any men. So I wouldn't feel it with female teachers picking my brain, but I definitely felt it with like young paras picking my brain and talking to me. And that was probably the first time I was in that position. Like, Rob and me sort of was in that position, even though like we're the same age. Like, I always, and I'm actually a year older than Rob, but I always felt like he was older than me with our, when we were working, and he was sort of like
Right.
my unofficial mentor, because I was put with him. And the way we looked at the job, especially, first, definitely the first, couple of years. Um, but I felt it later. Most of the teachers, I didn't really see age, when I would talk to them, but that's probably when I did.
I I worked with a woman who was from another agency called Child Mind Institute. I worked with her for 3 years, and she was probably about 15, 16 years younger than me. But the
Oh, I know
way,
her. Yeah, I know who she is. Yeah.
yeah, you know,
Yeah,
Haley,
yeah, yeah.
the way but she to me, like, I learned so much from her and how she was with the children, that like I now use a lot of the things that she taught me in my sessions. So to me, and like we hung out this summer, to me we're like the same. We don't There's no age difference except the fact that I have children and she doesn't, all those like life things. But I don't know. What about you, Rob?
When I talked to Dr. Neal yesterday. It was he potentially could have been on today, but he was like driving out to his family's in Pennsylvania. Um, when he and I started at the school where we started with Dr. M, right? No one ever like leaves that school. So we were like the youngest teachers, basically, by far. Like, so, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there was a range, but like the majority of the teachers were 20 years plus older than us, right? So, um, so I mean, and there's probably still teachers there, but I mean, I think we felt. I'm just trying to flip it over. Like, what does it feel like to be the young person coming into a school where most of the staff is older? You know,
Right.
I feel like people saw us as young. You know what I mean? Like we could kind of feel that. You know, and I don't know if that's like just an age thing or if it's just like people who have been doing this for 20 years just automatically see you as being new and inexperienced, you know? So I don't know if you guys
Right.
ever experienced that
I,
either
I
on the
I
other
I
side.
felt it in a weird way. I remember somebody that retired came back, and I haven't seen her in a while. And like I think she was always used to me being like, even though I was there like my early 30s, like like when I guess she saw me like as young, like almost probably like my 20s, So I didn't see her then like to my 40s later, and
Yeah.
and it was almost like I was different physically, but I was also just I wasn't like, this young guy to her in her mind. I remember having like a thought, like she almost felt older because I was older. You know what I mean? Like, I was like where she, or closer to where she was, and it made her probably feel old, like at that
Old,
point.
right,
Yeah,
right.
so I remember, these are, because you think about everything when you meet somebody. I remember that moment and I couldn't really figure it out. I'm like, but that's probably some of what's going on there. If people are used to you being young, in the profession, do they look at you differently when you're older? And probably, yeah, because they think about their own career as well.
Yeah. I remember when I first started at our old building, and Rob, you hung out with a woman that was probably about 15 years older than you or 10 years older than you.
Yeah,
I
probably
don't know how old.
maybe
Yeah.
10. Yeah, sure.
And but it didn't shock me. Like the relationship didn't surprise me that you would be younger than, you know what I mean? Because you
Well,
guys were close.
yeah.
You were friends.
Well, let's flip this to let's use an analogy here, right?
Okay.
Because this is like, so imagine that you meet a new couple, right? You're at some kind of a party or whatever, and they're all couples there, and you meet a new couple, and there's a couple where I'll start with it this way. The woman is 20, 21. Let's just say, oh, no, 20. The woman's 20, and the man is 35, right? Would you think that
Mhm.
that was weird?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, right? I
It's
mean,
underage. She's not
no,
21. She can't drink.
but she's an adult. She's 18,
Yeah,
All right.
a little
21,
weird.
21 and
I don't
35.
know.
She's an adult. She's 21.
21, and he's 35.
Yeah.
A
You
little
know,
bit.
I don't
A
know.
little bit.
I probably think about it, be a thought, but then after like hanging out with them, and stuff, and like, all right, he met her, as long as he didn't meet her when she's
But what would
50,
you but what would
60,
you think? Like,
if he
isn't
met her
isn't
now and 6 months later he's with her, I'm like, that's fine.
isn't there a negative
If they click.
connotation? Isn't there a negative
Yes.
connotation on the guy? Isn't it like, oh,
Yes.
he's a dirty old perv, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like judgy, very judgy,
Or
for sure.
Or isn't there like a connotation on the a woman where you go, oh, like why she must be like having daddy issues or something. Like why is she with this older guy? You know what I mean? Like it's like you could look at it either way. I'm not saying that's true.
Maybe,
I'm just
yeah.
saying I think that's what people. All right, now let's flip this over. 21-year-old guy, 35-year-old woman. Would you think that was weird?
I know it sticks out more in my mind, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
But why?
yeah,
Do you
I don't
automatically
know. It's
think,
like
oh, she's like a
I
cougar,
have
or like,
we, yeah, I have that, stereotypical, stuff in
yeah,
my
I do
head that,
too. I mean,
it, I can't reprogram how my brain works, but yeah, it automatically, it does stick out a little bit. It
no,
shouldn't. It's not fair,
yeah.
but it
I mean,
does.
part of me is like, good for her.
But now let's shift it, right? Now let's shift it. So you have a 35-year-old, well, I'm going to make it even for you have a 45-year-old woman who's with a
Hmm.
60-year-old man.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's
Yeah,
doesn't, it's like, no,
you
it's
don't
like,
even
who
think about
cares,
it.
right?
Yep.
No,
Yeah.
Same,
yeah.
but if you said 45-year-old man with a 60-year-old woman, does that
It's a good,
seem as normal
Yeah.
as
it's
the
No.
a,
it
It's
seems
because
it
the
seems
societal norms that we've been programmed our
yeah.
entire life. But yeah, that's a little.
We think of like guys age like differently. Like we think of like a guy, a guy is 50, 55, 60. And it's like, oh, he's probably more successful and he might be in
Yeah.
better shape than he was. But for a woman, for some reason, we think like she hits like 60. Oh, that's a grandma. You know what I mean? Like we like you know what I mean? Like we have this like
Yeah.
but so now flip that into teaching, right? So like I'm at
Right.
school, I'm 35, I'm hanging out with someone who's 45, right? Like no big deal, right? But like, but yeah, I mean, I definitely, when I was like 35, if there was a 21-year-old teacher who came in, that I could feel that, you know what I mean? Like I would, I would just be normal with them at school, but it's a little harder to hang out with that person outside of school, I
Yeah.
think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Different.
yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
I know
Yeah, I
exactly.
guess, yeah, you're right. Because as you get older, you're kind of on the same playing field. You're either, even if you're single, like not
Yeah.
necessarily like married with children, it's just
Like you join the club
Live
there
life.
where I live. Yeah. It's true
Yeah.
though. I noticed I even noticed so like, family members and things like once you get to a certain age, it's like, okay, you're in now. You're in that
Yeah.
adult
Like
area
I'll
now.
never forget when I
Or
turned 40, women who were like 60 were like, "Welcome to the club." And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't get it, but now I get it. Like,
yeah.
years later, I get it.
But now let me just say something else too, though. When I'm 30 something and I've been teaching for 10 years, 10 plus years, right?
Yeah.
You and you guys might disagree, but here's how I feel it. In my first like 3 years of teaching, right? Going in, I quickly felt like after my first or like second, by my third year, I quickly felt like, oh, I've got this figured out. Like I'm good. Like you know what I mean? Like this is, you know what I mean? And then like
Yeah.
you hit like year 10 and you realize, oh, like
Like
I was really overconfident in year 3. Like I thought I
what
had
the
it all
fuck was I
figured out in year
talking
3.
about?
Like yeah, like I was an idiot. Like so, so then you're in year 10 and a new teacher comes in and like they're in like their year 3 and you can see that they're overconfident. They think they have it
Yeah.
all figured out, right? And as a year 10 or 15 teacher, you're like, you don't know shit. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, but you're not knocking them down,
No, no, no,
right? You're
not
letting
knocking them
them
down.
experiencing
Yeah. So
their
I think
mistakes and yeah.
it's like having a kid, right? It's like your
Yeah.
kid is a teenager. You remember what it was like to be a teenager, but you can constantly just like knock them down and say, "Oh, that was a stupid decision," but you have to let them
Right.
like live,
Let them
right? Like make the mistakes, right?
yeah.
when you're doing great, I think you think like, oh, I got it together. But the older you get, you're almost expected to do great. But then if you reach a point where you struggle, like one
Yeah.
year, and there can
Yep.
be a lot of variables, and you're older, it's scary
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
expect it when
100%.
you're younger. But then if something
Yeah.
happens when you're older and something's going wrong, and you had a great history, all of a sudden you think like something's wrong with you. And it's like, and it's worse than with your age because the age then makes you feel like you just can't hang anymore. It's like the age is part of it why you're not doing as well as you should at that time.
Yeah.
And
That's really
that
insightful. Yeah. I agree with
it's
that.
scary because I've been in that position.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, everything's great, it's great. Wait, what the hell's going on now? And it's like, what? But you're older now. You're supposed to have this together. Like you
Hmm.
can take any kind of variables. I'm like, and I think that the age in your head, and I don't know if it's just in my head or others perceive it as well. I sort of felt that others perceived it as well, like you're supposed to have it more together at this age and
Yep.
level of experience for those kind of situations that could just happen, at any point.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a kind of that's sort of a sucky part of getting older in the profession. I
Yeah, nobody
felt it.
actually really talks about that, Maddie. Like I
I
said,
felt
I
for
think that's
years that there were teachers that got older and I would see certain situations where they can't handle the same kind of variables, probably because of their age and situation. And I felt like there should have been more understanding and awareness of their age and what it's like for them to be in that position. And I do feel, especially when you're working with children, there has to be, I think the profession is limited in that way and just more general knowledge. Because if you look around, there's not many people at the end of their career as there used to be, I think, and there's probably a lot of reasons why people don't hang in till the end, and, a lot of, I think the profession is dying in that way in a lot of ways. And I think if we had more knowledge and understanding of what happens to people as they get older in their life and then trying to handle that job, it would probably help a little bit if there was more support, and general knowledge.
I'll tell you what helps. It's so as you guys know, I switched buildings, and in this new building, there's a lot of young teachers. Like I'm one of the oldest, and right, like below, like people who are in their late 30s are also be considered like older in our school. There are a lot of like 20 people in their 20s. And it's really nice as an older educator to be around that youth to, because they have so much positivity, and it's like a fresh breath. It's like what is it? A breath of fresh air to be around people. Like it, I feel like it was when I first started 18
Yeah.
years ago. And
I know
it's
what you mean.
nice because it kind of like breathes life into me as a professional. Like, oh, okay, like that's what it used to be like. They're making me alive again in this role, and I love it. Like, you know, they're just silly and laughing, and like it's just sweet to be
Do you ever
around. They're
look at
not
them and
curmudgeony
not
and
not
grumpy.
to change it to a negative, but do you ever have like have the thoughts when you look at them and you're like and you think almost like, should I feel bad because they don't know yet what it's
No,
really like? You know what I mean? Like almost
no,
like shit, I could see your future. They're gonna screw you over at some point, you know.
mhm.
Because you've been in that situation, or I've been in the situation where, you know, you do everything and you do all these things, and then you know, at a certain point, when you know when things hit you, it's such an eye-opening experience. There's an older power that I became friends with, right? A guy, and he's like very happy and likable, right? And he'd go around, and I would talk to him, you know, and we became friends. And you know, I'm not the same. I haven't been the same guy that I was like 15 years ago, you know, as far as doing everything. I did my job and I did the extras, but I wasn't as positive. I've seen the profession. I've seen what it is. I've been hit, you know. So I didn't have the same positive, I was talking to him one day about, you know, and I said, well, yeah. He was telling me some things. I said, you know, be careful there, or this, you know, this can happen at this point. I just gave him some tips, you know, like, you know, he was saying, I'm going to do this. And I just gave him some advice, like, yeah, just be careful. And I remember like he started to get hit at a few, you know, they started to, you know, give it to him a
Come
little bit.
down on him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he started to get caught, you know, and like, you know, and trapped and, you know, and just in like, well, why are they, you know, I always worked like this. So why are they getting on me now? And then once you switch and they start to see you and you get attention because you're not doing as well as you'd like, it starts to weigh on you. And then you start to shift in the way you are. And he was almost like, he would tell, you know, like it started to happen. They started to come at me. And then at a certain point, okay, then like the office turned on him, right? You know, like, and then he started to come in and just get the cold shoulder because he was like, he'd do the same thing and he'd come in and be like, hey, everybody. And then no one's looking at him. You know, he started to feel like this. I'm like, yeah, just, you know, just lay low for a while. Then I started to give him advice. You know, this is it's going to pass. Just do your job, lay low. And I would give him advice on how to handle it.
Well,
And,
you gave him advice, so that's good. Like, and he had
yeah.
somebody that he could talk to
But I saw
about
it at
it.
the beginning. I'm like, just be careful. And you know what I mean? Like, and then he didn't know what I meant. And then later I saw him change and shift. And he's like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to, you know, he just started to shift the way he was. He was like forming into me almost with that knowledge of like, wow, I thought this was different. And then it wasn't. And like, and I'm like, you know, just hang in. You're almost retiring. So, you know, just, you're going to be fine. You know, and it's
Right.
scary when you think it's a certain way and then you realize it's not. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah,
But let me
I don't know.
let me pose another scenario.
yeah.
You're a
You're
veteran te
90 and your friend is 60. No, I was kidding.
you're a veteran teacher. You're whatever 15 years in, and you're no longer in that phase of overconfidence. Like you actually um look at Broogie. She's just walking away.
I don't even know where she is.
She left.
She just like left she muted too.
Yeah, this is directly related to her too. Like, because I was going to use her as an example, but now she's holding everything up.
Well,
No warning, by the way. Just
no, usually if I have to step away, I would actually say like, guys, I'll be right back.
mm-hmm.
You know,
Or you
something
make a
happened
hand signal or something like,
yeah,
you
anything.
know.
There wasn't even, oh,
Yeah.
did she forget to take a shower again?
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, there she
Why?
is.
Hey, thanks
Okay.
for letting us know you were leaving.
Yeah, because I was just about to say something that was related to you, and then you just left.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay, here's the
Yes.
scenario. Broogie, this I'm going to use you as an example.
Okay, go ahead.
You're like 15 years in. You're no longer in that like first 3 years overconfidence, like I know everything phase, like that
Right.
like teenager teacher phase.
Yep.
You're you now. You've won awards, you know what you're talking about. You can see the difference between you and someone who's like starting your job, you know what I mean? Like so
Right.
you're an expert in what you do, right? And I feel like there's a transition where it feels uncomfortable to say about yourself, I'm an expert in what I do. But I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, you should be able to say that and recognize that about yourself, right? And if you can't, we can. Like
Sure.
we will recognize that in you. So you're an
Yeah.
expert. So now, Matt, and this applies to us too, Matt. So you're
Yeah.
working in a school, you're at that level. A Now there's no minimum age really for an administrator, you know? So like a person can come in, become a teacher for like 1 year, and then like basically before they're 25, they could be an administrator. They could be like an assistant principal. They've never even gotten past that teenage teacher phase in a lot of cases,
Right.
right? So now you have an administrator who's technically hierarchically above you, and you're a teacher who's an expert in what you do. Like think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that relationship now, because it's not like older teacher, younger teacher. It's like it's like
Oh, older educator, younger boss.
yes, exactly. Right. Like, that becomes very uncomfortable too, because
Yeah, for
on
sure.
so many levels, you're like, you don't have that much life experience, you know what I mean? Like you don't definitely have
I
anywhere
only
near
had
the
it.
experience.
I had it two times. I had it when I started. I
Hmm.
had when I my first job. I'm in the South Bronx, and the principal is 26 years old and just started her first job
Yeah.
and never taught before. She's in like the leadership program, you know. So
Yep.
she's a first, and it's a new school. It just opened, and it was insane, like so there were so many things, and it was hard, but I didn't have experience either, but I was older than this person.
Hmm.
So it was weird. I started to see right away that she was reading all the directions like from like a manual,
Yeah.
the way she talked. It didn't seem the one thing I didn't really know a lot, but I knew what's real. I mean, like, and especially, as an actor, I just know, why don't you just talk? Or you're always reading, sound like you're reading something, because she didn't really know how to feel the job out yet. So she was like reading it, but the kids picked up on it also. It was like, it was like whatever she said, it sounded, you can't BS kids, especially these kids.
Right.
Like, so like it just sounded like everything was like from a thing, like from a catalog on how to speak, in this leadership program. And that's the one thing I noticed. I was waiting for her to, you know, just talk real, speak so I can understand, what this, are you in there? It was kind of like that. That's one thing and that would be connected to how old she was, because she didn't know that she's supposed to just, put the book down and just talk, like, in an interview. So that would probably help our relationship and other people's relationship, because everybody, saw her. So like, she just talks like she's a robot, and then like there was no human quality, but she didn't know yet, and that takes time.
Hmm.
It does take time.
Wait,
There's one thing
I have to cut you off. I had an educator one, and one of my supervisors once hand me. There's a book called the Prim. Do you guys know what the Prim is? It's a pre-referral intervention manual.
No.
It's basically like if you want to refer someone who's behavioral to special education, and they literally handed me over the manual, and they're like when I tell you this book is so thick, and they handed me the manual, like your answers will be solved in this in this
Yeah.
manual. And I just remember thinking, like, you just sparked the memory, Maddie, when you were saying like they were reading from a guide. Like it's just like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on? Like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this book? I'm gonna put it
It's
under
one thing
my
if they
ass when
want
I
you to
sit in
like
my
work that
chair.
way when you're teaching and read from the script. We've talked a lot about putting, but you're not teaching. You're talking to me. You still sound like you're reading from a catalog. Yeah,
Right.
it's like you can answer without, going to. Well, what do you think of this? Well, according to this on 1A641, and then just, read, just actually be, a little bit of human.
Well, she didn't
But
know what to do. She was younger than you,
she
and
didn't
she was reading
exactly.
from a manual.
Yeah, she didn't know what to do yet. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
common. This is common in medicine also. Like if you,
Oh, yeah.
if I go to see a younger doctor, especially if they're in their first like 5 years out of medical school, whatever, versus like someone who's been practicing for a long time, like I can tell immediately like the outside the box thinker, like the person who, like Matt, you like the term that you've used for acting is like going off book, right? I can tell when a doctor is capable of going off book and like to think, like thinking for themselves versus reading from a script, like reading,
Right.
from the manual basically, or regurgitating something that they had been taught in medical school or something. They don't understand when and why their thinking is wrong. You know what I mean? Like, because they're applying, they're not applying like logic and reasoning to the patient in front of them. They're thinking of like the standard of care, which is like the best approximation of like an average, in terms of like how to treat a patient. Like, not so forget about it, doesn't matter who's in front of you. Like, the standard of care is like built out for this, like, you know like the middle of the curve basically,
Did you
Right.
ever, Rob, have to call out somebody like, because you've had a lifetime, of issues, like with your health and everything. So you probably even enormous amount of doctors. So like the older you get, if you ever had a young doctor that wasn't up to your standard, and have you ever like called them out
Oh,
almost like,
like, so when I was like in my 20s, I was like more hesitant to do that. I would just be annoyed. But now I'm a savage now. I mean,
yeah,
like, doctors probably get nervous when they know I'm coming in because I
But
don't.
even older doctors too, right? Not
Oh
just
yeah, yeah. I
younger
don't care how old
doctors.
I don't
Yeah.
care how old they are now. If they better be on their toes when I go in there because first of all, I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I know how to speak their language. And so, I know what the literature says, like, I'm bringing in like stacks of documents. I'm bringing, you know what I mean? Like so basically
probably like,
like,
oh shit, it's him.
yeah,
You
basically
know,
if they like, and they, and what's even funnier is the way medicine works a lot of times now, especially in like a hospital setting, is your appointment's like 15 minutes. You waste like half a day going to this appointment. You got to go there, you got to
Right.
go in, you got to check in, you got to register. Then you go in, you're waiting in the waiting room. Then they bring you back to a room and you're waiting in there. Then a nurse comes in, asks you like, if I have 3 appointments in the same week, why do I need a nurse to come in and ask me go through my entire medication list? If I go in there on a Tuesday to see one doctor, we go through this process. The next day, we go through it again. I'm like, I just fucking did this yesterday. Do
like
you think my
everything would
medications
change in
changed
one
from
day.
yesterday? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or 2 appointments in the same day. They go through the question again. I was like, I was just fucking here 3 hours ago answering these questions. Like, there's
Different
just
doctor though, right?
different doctor, but you
It's
going.
because they don't read your
No,
file.
exactly. But this is where I'm going with this.
Horrible.
So then finally, right, it gets to the point where the doctor is about to come in. Normally what happens, like the doctor's not home the night before studying the charts of the patients you're going to see the next day.
Right.
They're used to being able to look at the chart really quickly and then like go in and kind of wing it, or like, remember from if the last time. I can always tell there's an extra delay in that period because they take my chart. My chart is like a fucking encyclopedia set, right? It's like if it was paper, it would probably be like the old encyclopedias that you have on the shelf. It's 40 years
Yeah.
worth of stuff that's really complicated. So I can always tell when they come in, the first thing they're like, wow, you have like a complex history. And then it starts. But then like that's when my, if I sense that they're not ready, I just unload, because I
Complex
don't.
history. Like somebody actually said that though.
Yeah. Like
Oh
what
my!
the
Oh,
fuck?
they're like, wow, you've been through a lot. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, no
Like,
shit.
no
so,
shit.
so,
Oh my God.
What
you
a
know,
bunch of assholes.
and then the problem is though, for whatever the reason is that I'm there, there's always like a scripted response, like, oh, so you have, and it's all siloed, right? Like most doctors don't, they're not systems thinkers. Like we want our kids to be systems thinkers. We want them to think in terms of systems, right? How everything is interconnected, right? And we don't do this in school either. Like we have all the different subjects and they're siloed. Like some schools try
Right.
to do this, but we don't properly link together like social studies and science. Or,
Right.
we try to infuse literacy and math into everything, which is also a
Right.
mistake, like because we overemphasize it. But so then they'll say, oh, like I think you should take like this medication. I'm like, yeah, we tried that like 6 years ago. It's in my chart, and that medication caused me to have this secondary cancer that I had 10 years. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it becomes this thing where I have to like first educate them on my chart, and then every one of their scripted answers, like it's almost like I don't know how to explain this. Like
Sounds exhausting, you know.
but when you have when I have a few doctors who are much more experienced, aren't afraid to sit back and think for a minute and say, okay, so we have this, like it's almost like they're going through a maze in their minds, and you can see them hitting the dead ends, but then turning around and trying to find the way. The younger
Right.
doctors can't do that. They just kind of give up. Like they hit a dead end and then they're like, well, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like it's so I don't know. I think there's a huge parallel between medicine and education.
Education. Yeah.
That's true.
Well, they're the
I,
ones who are being educated to treat you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I had a doctor's appointment this week, and I go to the doctor, and they're like, the doctor's not here today. I'm like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
I made this a month ago.
Yes.
Why didn't
Are
anybody
they going
call
to give
me?
you the $15 the
No, I
cancellation
didn't
fee?
pay a copay. No. They said, but this is what they said. They said, you can see this doctor instead. I said, oh, I went to this doctor because
Yes.
I looked up the reviews for this doctor. I don't
Right.
know who the other person is. They're like,
Yeah.
do you want the appointment? Do you want to? I was like, oh, I want to actually take a few minutes
Like I'm
and
fucking
go
here
over the
now.
doctor's reviews. I don't know who I'm seeing. I have like a bunch of things I'm supposed to have done, and like, so I sat down, I looked over the reviews and they were shitty
Yeah.
for the other doctor, and I thinking about it because he looked like a baby, So when you showed me the picture of the guy, I was like, all right, he looks really young, but maybe he's really good. Then I looked down, I was like, no, he had some, shitty reviews. So I said, like, no, I was like, and I said, curiosity, like, I made this appointment with the doctor. How come nobody called me? And they were like, they don't do that. It would be like who you made it through. I was like, well, and then they just said something that blew my mind. This guy's only here one day a week here. I was like, but I have an email that says it's with him here at this
Yeah.
time. And they're like, yeah, but he's not, he's only here this day. I was like, so
Then
you
why the
make an
fuck are they making
appointment
the
with
appointment?
this doctor and then to go see anybody? They're like,
Right.
yeah. I mean, I was like, it's the company's fault that you make the appointment with. I'm like, all right, can you put that in writing for me? I said, I was like, I want that. And I was like, well, we don't have anything like that. I was like, type it.
Yeah.
And then the two nurses are there. They're sort of like with the guy. I was like, you could type that. They were like, yeah, you could just write in what happened. It's like, thanks. I want it. I want some evidence that I was here. Thank you. And that's it. I left. I didn't make an appointment. I figured that I don't want to go to them, and I needed a new doctor because I'm only seeing somebody who's like old. I know that only has like older patients, and then kind of goes with our theme today because I'm like the only one there, like 49. Everyone's like, like 80,
90.
so I don't see anybody my age. So I thought I'd change it up and go to somebody that just sees everybody, not just somebody that sees only people who are 80, and I never saw anybody like younger than that, so not even close to my age, so, and he's good. I just wanted somebody that I wanted to try somebody else out. This is what happens. Like they're not even there at a day that I booked the appointment, like, and nobody even lets me know.
This is like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
Wait,
Something that happened in Seinfeld.
I was going to let it go until he said, well, he's only here one day a week. And that blew my mind. It's like, there's nothing
ridiculous.
That's printed that says that or anything. So this probably happens a lot where they make appointments thinking they're seeing him and he's not there.
Mm-hmm.
I never even heard
What's
of
the
anything
point
like
of
that.
the appointment?
Yeah. That's Seinfeld. Well,
Yeah.
let's rent this doctor.
Wait, I have
You don't
another.
want to. No, you don't want to get worse. Then you
What's
leave.
the point
I kept
of
getting
this
emails just to
appointment?
stick it. How is your appointment today? Can you rate this doctor? Can you rate your experience here?
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
And
the
I'm like,
survey?
Yeah.
I got a bunch of them. They won't stop. And then they remind me that I didn't take it. You still got time to do the survey for him. How was he?
It's like, you want more of my time that you've already
Yeah,
And it's
like
not a
go
wasted?
fuck
choice. It's not a choice that he
yourself.
wasn't there. It's not a choice. It only gives like he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
great. I wouldn't recommend him. I was like, how do I know? He wasn't, like, you need a
He
choice that
wasn't even
says
there.
this guy didn't even come today because
Yeah.
your company doesn't allow you to know that he's only there one day a week.
Oh,
You book
that's really
fake appointments with him.
Wait, I have
Uh,
another scenario.
That's so frustrating.
It is. I walked out. I was just like, well, I'm not seeing the guy with the bad reviews, so I guess I'm not booking an appointment now. And I'm not coming back here. That's how it is.
Here's a new scenario. So we're all parents, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're a parent, and for your own kid, you have to go in for meet the teacher night or whatever, or for report cards or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, and we've all probably been through this. You go into the school and to sit down with a teacher for whatever reason. So there's, in my mind, there's a difference between sitting down with like a teacher who's like a first year teacher, you know what I mean, or like a first 3 years teacher, versus one who's been teaching for 15 years, right? I think there's also a limit. I think like once, if your kid has a teacher who's been teaching for too long, I think there's a point at which teachers start to like not expire, but like they hit a peak and then it starts to go downhill in a lot of cases, not all the time. And I
Yeah.
would even say this about myself. Now I'm not excluding myself. And so what's your preference there for your own kid? Like what teacher do you want them to have? The first year
Well,
teacher, the 10th year teacher, the 20th year teacher?
I
The
usually
fifth
first
year
just look at my
teacher.
son. How, is he happy? And so
Yeah.
I feel like if they're, like, and then that's so important just to be happy, like going into school. Then we'll get into like, how much they're taking away from it, how much they're learning, everything. But, is he enjoying the experience? And the only time I remember it was bad was one year, and he's 15. Like he loves school every year. And
Yep.
there was one that was bad. And that's, I think, when he was in first grade. And everybody said the same thing. They were so stiff and cold, and they were young, but they didn't understand children.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I remember thinking, like, okay, that's how they're saying, but they're going to break, once we sit down with them at the table, they're going to be different and talk to us. And they were so stiff and like, okay. And they were like, this is what's happening. And I was like, and I'm like, and Sydney and I were both there, and we're just like, this is how they are. Of course he's like miserable. This is like so stiff. This is what we expect from them, and they're supposed to do that. I'm like, oh my God. Like I felt uncomfortable like after a minute. I can imagine how the kids felt.
Yep.
And we go to their parties, children's parties, and we talk to the other parents, and we're sort of like, we're afraid almost to say anything because you don't want to badmouth the teacher. And like, what do you think? I'm like, and they're like, I hate them. I hate them. It's too stiff. They don't understand children. And then eventually it even got to the principal. They broke them up. One left the school and then one moved to another grade or something. But they probably shouldn't have been working with younger children. It was too much. They just didn't get it. And
Right.
after that, he never had it. But that was like one time I remember thinking, possibly because of their age, or possibly also they were just a certain personality that it really irked me sitting across from them. But also just because your kid, and like, if even when they're younger, you figure out if they're happy or not happy or something's off.
Yep. Wait, what did you say, Brookie? What was your answer?
I think that there are some really great older teachers I've seen
Yeah.
that my son has had that are fantastic.
There.
But
Well, I'm
sorry.
I'm gonna let you finish, but I just want to ask, like, throw this in while you're answering.
Yeah.
Does it matter if the teacher is a parent? So, like, because what you said reminded me of like a teacher that Sam had who was very motherly, and she had kids who were grown up.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm not saying it, but go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I don't know, because some of them I don't know if they had children or not. So I would have to see. But I like speaking to teachers who are between 5 and 10 years, like between that sweet spot. I feel like they still have the energy to be there. Um, they're not they're not very negative. Like I've sat in with older teachers that are just like
Yep.
going through the motions.
They're past they're over the, not over the hill,
Yeah.
but they're past
I
the
mean,
prime time.
again, this isn't, a blanket statement. There are
Right.
definitely older teachers that are fantastic that I've seen in my, back to schools. But yeah, between 5 and 10 years for sure. That's my experience with my kids.
Do you guys think that you became better educators after you had kids?
Oh yeah, definitely.
For me, 100%. Yeah.
Dylan was like very much involved in how I set up my room. I'd bring him in, or I would like sit with him and I would sort of see things through his eyes, So, Rob, you and I worked together. I remember like we were talking about the classroom, years ago. And I remember sitting in the room once and I think you said to me, like, what am I doing? And I'm like, I want to sit in their chair for a second, So I sat in the little chair, like our little, whatever, dinosaur pizza chair, whatever they were, And I just sat down because I want to see, actually sitting there. It's like, actually being their size and seeing what they see when they see us, And it kind of reminded me of that. I'd sort of like watch through his eyes. And there were many years after I had him, like that I would, even before he was old enough to give me any knowledge, like if there was a certain book that I read to him, I'd read that book in school, because I saw how it resonated with him. And then I would like, let me see, let me try that one there. So it opened things up. And it was a book I loved so much that I read to him that I designed my room with different parts of the book. My whole classroom became that book. And then I had it like around my room, different parts. I had a theme from that book, my whole room. That's because of him. I don't know if I would think that way or even have the courage to try something like that if I didn't know that at least how it could affect one child's like imagination, that something because he loved it so much. So I'm just going through his eyes. And it shifted me in the way that probably silliness in a way, and just talking to children in a way and just
Oh,
opening up
you've
another
always
side
been
of me.
silly, Maddie.
Yeah, no, I know. I know.
I know,
What,
I'm joking.
what about just in the
Something you
way
can
though?
carry that over to them. It's like another dimension of
I'm glad
silliness,
that
like a
you
higher dimension
equated.
of higher
I'm
order,
glad that
higher order silly questions.
I'm glad that though you because to me what you were saying was like, all right, yeah, I saw this idea and I designed my workshop, but I'm glad that you made the connection that even if one person, I'm sorry, your classroom, that you had this idea, you decorated your classroom in a certain way and then you taught it,
Yeah.
but I'm glad that you made the connection that like, even one kid who was able to take that and use that as part of their imagination, like that makes you a better educator because you've taken now something to teach your students that you've learned from your son. So like
Well,
that I
it's
love.
an it's it's inspiration, and so
Yeah.
sometimes their inspiration carries over to our inspiration, and then and so he definitely. But to answer your question, then Rob, yeah, definitely had an influence on how I teach, how I see working with children, especially when he was at the same age as them,
Yeah.
and I would have that grade, that he had. So I really, I almost like when he was their age and he would travel with them for those years. And I would have, like, let's say he was in second grade, then I would have all of second grade. I felt almost a connection to all the kids because my son was at that age exactly and that grade level. So it was
Yeah.
always, and if he went to third, I understood third. He went to fourth, I understood fourth a different way. Because it was cool to have that connection, almost like interest. I saw they had an interest, and I would see like, oh, he liked that too, and then they would know my son, especially during the COVID years, because he was in my videos. I would put him in my videos that we would send to the kids, so they started to
Right.
know him from it. But then I would have him in my meetings sometimes because he'd be home. It was a crazy time after the Zooms ended or after the Google Meets ending, he would start to talk to them sometimes. And I would have shut it off yet. And he's sitting there and he's talking to them and he got to know them then through that. And then when we went back to school, they would ask me about him. He'd come in for the courses, and stuff. And he got to know them. Like it was weird, but through the, experience, it definitely helped, I think me just, connect to them a different way and have an understanding of them that way, personality wise.
Briggy, earlier you said you
Go
had
ahead.
a question. You said you had like a surprise topic, but you said you had a surprise question as well.
Yeah.
No?
I think it was no. It was about age.
Okay.
It was about
Okay.
like
that was it.
are we really like the same age? Is there a real age in when we're working with our work colleagues?
When you're with your younger colleagues, do you find yourself in any way trying to fit in with them being younger, or do you think in any way that I don't know how much
So code switching. So
yeah.
So that's called code switching. I don't. I used to. I don't anymore. Now I'm just me.
Do you think what's more common for like older teachers to try to like code switch to fit in with the younger teachers, or for younger teachers to try to code switch to seem more mature and fit in with the veteran teachers? And maybe,
Oh,
yeah,
this is a great question.
yeah, because I have experienced both ways.
All right. So can I say
yeah.
okay. So so being around you three, right? And I'm saying three because Neil is involved in this.
Yeah. Yep.
I found myself to really try. I'm not undermining I know I'm intelligent, but I found like the way you guys spoke sometimes, it was like a little bit over me. And I felt like I had to really like try hard to understand the things that maybe you guys were talking about, or
I think I'm going to
I
walk
just
to
had to
your
try
side,
harder. What?
I'm going to be on your side of this. Thank you for including me with Rob and Neil, the smartest men in the world. But I'm probably with you on that side. I walked around with a chicken, and I'm very good at making things talk, but I didn't have the knowledge that they had as an educator.
As a result of me being around you guys, I felt like I listened a little. I learned how to listen and take in and I learned from that, right? And then as I got older and you guys left, not Maddie, he stayed. But then you guys left. And then I was surrounded by women that were younger than me who were millennials. And I started behaving in a way so that, I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit this. Like, it was like I was 100% code switching so that I could be with them because you guys were no longer there. I needed to find like people. And then as now I'm getting older, I'm like, holy, like, what was I doing? Like now 10 years later, I'm like, now I'm just me. Like, I am me. This is who I am with the 27-year-olds and with the 6-year-olds. It just, you just have to find your way. I think a lot of people do this, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I did.
You found your way. I still sat in the corner of your room and refused to mingle with anybody else. I was like, all right, they're gone. I'm staying with you. You can go meet with other people.
And it's so interesting because everybody thinks that like peer pressure is like a teenage thing, but really it's always there as we get older. So it's like you have this, you want to fit in, you want to make friends, like more than the majority of the people do, not introverted, not somebody like Maddie. But like, it's so true. But now as I get older, I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm who I am and that's it. Like, I'm not apologizing for that.
I think I
So
got to that point later. I did want to make friends and things like that. I just got to a point when I was like, I just realized I don't fit in. And what's the point of forcing it? I rather, for me, it was easier just, you're my friend, he's my friend, and that's it. I don't need like 15 friends, if you know, uh, I'm me. So that's that, but,
what about you,
and
Rob?
I feel like I've been on both sides. Like, so I was like, I was explaining this to Carlene not too long ago. I said to her something like, I am like, I would call myself like a mimicker. You know what I mean? And so basically, and then just for a little bit of background, Matt, I don't know if you had GI Joe figures when you were younger,
sure,
but and then like He-Man figures, but there was a GI
definitely
Joe,
He-Man,
yeah, there was a
He-Man
GI Joe
kid.
Castle
character,
Grayskull.
there was a GI Joe
I have
character.
the power. Still door. Go ahead.
There was a GI
No,
Joe
sorry, go ahead.
character called Zartan, and Zartan was one of the coolest GI Joe characters. It came with masks. Like, so you had your character and he was a master of disguise, right? And then in He-Man, there was many faces and you could actually
Yeah, I remember that guy.
rotate and he had three different
Yeah,
faces, right?
you hit a button
Yes,
and it would
Right.
like turn, right? Yeah, I
Yep.
I
remember that
forgot
Yep.
guy.
about
Yeah.
that
So I
guy.
was always obsessed with these kinds of characters, right? Like the chameleon almost, right? And
Mm.
so like as a mimicker, basically I'm constantly like, and I don't know if this is like a function of maybe some adult autism or something, but it's like always constantly observing other people looking for qualities that I admire. Does that make sense? Right.
Yes,
So like
yes,
especially, when I'm younger, I'm looking at some people my age and I'm like, oh, like that might have to do with more like, oh, if someone's in my position, do they have more confidence than I do? Do they walk a certain way? Like, so trying to pick up on certain things like that, but looking at older people and saying, not so much about credentials, but like, I don't know, like I remember this one, I remember being in a PD my first year of teaching. Dr. M is there, and there was this older guy teacher. He was probably 30 years older than I was or something, but and he was like so unafraid to speak up during the meeting and challenge the principal, right? And I was like, "Oh man, like that's like ballsy. Like that's so cool." You know what I mean? Like I want that to be me, and like that did become me later, but you know what I mean? Like that's an example of looking towards someone who's older. I'm not looking at him
right,
like, oh, that guy's so cool, but I'm looking at that quality of him. And I'm like that as a teacher, as a professional, I aspire to be like that, like to have that thing.
right.
And with
Then
doctors, you said you were that way as well, and not
right,
younger.
right,
Yeah,
exactly, right.
yeah,
And so, and
yeah.
then like now I'm going to give specific examples, right? So I had a friend, my best friend Peter, growing up. His birthday was September 18th. His death anniversary was August 30th. He died when we were 23 of esophageal cancer. But I remember when we were in our late teens, early 20s, we would be hanging out. Like he moved to Virginia, but we'd be hanging out. And I remember we went for Y2K. We went up to Vermont for like a ski thing. And all my friends were there and he was with us. He was going through his cancer at the time. And I remember we were out at this like bar and he was sitting at a booth with a friend of mine named Orlando, right? Oh, Orlando Morales. You know Dave Morales, Friggy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do know Dave
yeah.
Morales.
Right. So Orlando Morales, like he's a good friend of mine, but he was when we were younger, he was always like not ready to fight, but like aggressive, really aggressive, you know? And I remember thinking, and Peter was like so gentle. I was like, oh God, like I hope Orlando's not gonna like eat him alive or anything, you know? And they're talking for so long, and I'm seeing, and I've never seen Orlando just sit still and be listening to someone like he was, and I'm observing from across the room because I'm like protective. Later on, Orlando comes up to me and he goes, "I've never met anyone like him, you know? Like he's." I don't know. He's just such a like what he. This is like so uncommon for someone like Orlando to say, you know, and so you know me observing the way that Peter interacted with people, like I would then try to mimic that. I'm like I want people to think that about me when they talk to me, And that's like, you guys know, that's like not my nature. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that guy, but that's like an aspiration, right? And then with Dr. Neil, like I would always observe him. We complemented each other well, but I was always observe the way that he would present or speak to people. You know what I mean? And like there's parts of Dr. Neil that I try to like imitate also. Maybe it's the cadence. You know, he has a way of speaking. You know what I mean? Like a calm kind of like direct, you know, non-emotional thing, you know? And so
Yeah.
I don't know, those are just examples, but like I find that I do that but it's very infrequent for me to try to mimic someone that's younger than me. This is where I'm going with this, except for one case. I was volunteering at the Hole in the Wall game camp, like a cancer camp, basically, which is where I went when I was a kid. And I was older. Like all the volunteers and staff are very young. They're like in their late teens, early 20s. And I'm like 35. You know, I'm like grandpa there. And every day at mealtime, there was an MC, this young kid. He was probably 19 or 20. And he would get up in front of the whole cafeteria with the microphone. And he was like the hype guy. You know, he would like start all the songs and get people going crazy. That guy was the inspiration for my character in the school where we taught during our assemblies. So like the way that I was in those assemblies came
Right.
Oh,
directly
wow.
from this kid who was like 19 or 20, who
I
I
never
was
knew that.
observing for 2 weeks straight and thinking that's it. Like like, you know, he doesn't care what he looks like or sounds like or whatever. Or the kids are going crazy. Like I have to learn that skill, you know? So like that's
Yeah.
something
So
that
you,
yeah. Yeah.
but you learn these skills and now they're part of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're real. They're real,
I
right?
keep the ones that I
I took stuff from
enjoy, that
you,
make me
bro. You
feel
know, like,
But you're
good.
not, but what I'm trying to say is I don't know that that's spectrum behavior. I think
Oh
that's
no.
just human behavior,
Well,
right? Like those are now part of you moving
mm,
forward, or are they fake?
well,
I think almost he was saying like
it's
you're
both.
part of his personality, the way he was looking at it. He felt, possibly that he naturally look at others that way,
Yeah.
you
No,
know.
it's both.
It's
So
interesting.
a lot of it is
Yeah.
mask. So what I am now, depending on who I'm speaking to, there's always a level of
Yeah.
masking that's going on. And that masking takes the form of assuming identities that I have observed over time and then basically deploying the ones that I think are going to serve me best
Yes.
in that situation. Right.
So it's
Yeah.
comforting almost like your brain's processing it like, and I'll be better off in this scenario with this particular person if I am this way almost.
Yeah, but sitting in the office with you guys, like me and Matt sitting in the office, me hanging out with my friend Greg, that's like the real me, right? So it's
Yeah.
like I don't like when that's where I don't need to use any sort of masking whatsoever, right?
I'm so happy we got to see
Yeah,
that.
oh, that's why. Yeah, that's why
Great.
everyone else likes him, but he's such an asshole.
Thanks.
Why do people like this asshole so much? They get the partially fake version.
Well, you could do what I do and just don't see a lot of people, and then you don't have to have a lot of masks. So it's like I could be completely antisocial. Then there's no masking. Then I just have to be me.
Oh.
But do you guys find yourself masking ever? Like doing
Yeah, like in
No,
professional roles
yeah,
for sure.
especially different teachers, different personalities, different ages. You sort of have to just to you know you can't I can't be
I
if a 6-year-old teacher comes over, I can't be like, hey, what's up, brother, how you doing, and give a little shoulder right now. So
Yeah,
there's
but
definitely
I
that
don't
kind
know.
of
I think that that's normal, right? Like, sure, everybody wears them. Like I said before, I am myself now in front of my work colleagues. However,
yeah.
if it's a boss,
Yeah.
I am professional. If it is a teacher that I just met and I don't know who they are and they don't know who
What does that
I am
mean though?
professional. I
Like
am
is it
I'm serious. I'm more serious than I am if I am with people like in general.
yeah, but
I'm more serious.
but and I don't know if you would call this masking, but in your mind, you have a perception of what professional looks and sounds like. And so then you're trying to do that, or or is it like a default professional mode that you've developed over time? You know what I'm saying? For me, it's a mimic. For me, if I'm trying to
I
come
guess you
across
could
as
call it a mimic.
professional, it's like I'm synthesizing,
Yes.
like, okay.
Yes, that. Like I've taken from other people, movies, things that I've absorbed over the years, and I'm taking that and I'm like, okay, this is what this needs to look like. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I think
mimicking.
everybody has to mask at a certain point during the day, especially if you're in a meeting with 100 people, right? You can't be who you want to be at that point.
But some people,
Everyone's like
yeah,
they're exploding in their minds.
but some
Maybe
people
they have
don't.
gas, maybe they have
But
this.
some
They could be
people
in
don't,
pain
Maddie. It's
right?
nice to be
Yeah.
authentic. Like I
Think
wish I
about
could be always
think about some
authentic.
people that we
But you have
know.
to sit there and be quiet. You can't even talk. You know what I mean? Like, so so no one could be who they really want all day. Everybody has to have that professional way of masking at some point,
No,
right?
no, there's some
Oh,
people.
the people who just can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the best, though. Yeah, those are the ones that
I
stay. I
mean,
think
we
we all
know
know.
one
Yeah.
person who doesn't mask. She was
George,
like
yeah, George
that.
Steele.
Woo!
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, this could be the
Actually,
You
now
know what
I'm
happened today?
thinking two. Now I'm
Oh
thinking
no, no,
two
yeah,
people.
there's more than one that we can.
There's more
I
than
know.
one. But like yeah, she couldn't keep
Ball.
herself still.
Uh, and
Oh,
it's like it's almost refreshing too, because you start to see this in kids too. Like you start to see kids masking to try to match what they believe the teacher's expectations to be.
yeah.
And then kids who
Say a
can't
certain
do that.
thing.
And the kids
Right.
who can't do that, if you're a teacher who understands how the brain works, you don't take offense to it. You just go, okay, I need different strategies. But some teachers, like, they can't let that go. They think it's a personal attack, like why
Right.
aren't they conforming to what I'm expressing the perfect student to be, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And
There's a
Yeah.
list. Here's the list of how to speak in my
yeah.
room.
Yeah.
What are you doing
Right.
this for? Bathrooms like this. Like you're gonna smack your head. You can't go. No, you can't
Yeah.
go. He has to do it.
One
No,
finger
go
for
sit down.
bathroom, two fingers for water.
I
Three
It's
mean,
not
that's
fingers.
sandwich
also,
time.
listen,
No.
I totally understand what you're saying, but that's also because like the teacher would go fucking crazy. Like, I don't know. I agree with some of these teachers, but they have these certain like protocols in place in their classroom. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing. They've got 32 kids that
No,
they've got to
no,
control.
it's not bad, but it's bad when
Take it to the
are
level.
when it's crystallized, where you have no flexibility and you
Yes.
can't understand that some kids
Yes,
can't do that, right? You have to
correct.
be able to adapt, right? Or
I
you have to
agree with
be
Yes.
able
both.
to have
It's
a
have a
little bit
system
of
in
bend,
place, adapt your system based on who you have. And
right?
your system should have room for being adaptable.
Yes,
I,
Well,
I got
sure.
I got a quick story about medical stuff too. And this is me masking in reverse. Like, so not trying to sound professional, but like there's times when I'm going to go to a new doctor. Whenever I go to a doctor, there's something that I need usually from that doctor. Otherwise, I wouldn't go. So it could be a prescription, it could be a diagnosis, it could be whatever. So I have to play a game where I have to do whatever I need to do to get that thing from that doctor, right? And because I have my own protocol, my own agenda, I know what my decisions are going to be, but doctors are gatekeepers, right? Just like teachers
Right.
can be gatekeepers for kids getting services at school. So like there's times when I go into a doctor and play absolutely like I act like the dumbest patient on earth, right? So like I'm going on like, what does the brain really do? Like, does the brain like control the body? You know what I mean? Like, so, but like my favorite character to be when I go into like to a doctor who, and I know that they need their ego stroked for them to give me what I need, is like Emperor Palpatine when he's trying to get Anakin to turn, and it Mace Windu who comes in, and and then like
Yes.
the emperor, he's like getting attacked, like, ah, Anakin,
Yeah,
oh, help me, Anakin.
yeah.
Me.
He's gonna kill
Before
me.
he-
Like acting all weak and stuff. And then like the second he gets what he needs, like when he realizes,
Ah,
he's like, ah!
yeah.
That's my favorite. My
So do
favorite.
you guys, do you actually then start unloading all this knowledge and blow their mind? Like all of a sudden, complete shift in personality?
But once you get what you need, then like maybe the next visit you can unload, you know.
You
But
could do it in the
Yeah.
next minute and just blow their mind, be like complete
yeah,
shift, like, oh,
well,
and then all of a
yeah,
sudden be
you
like,
have to, as
well,
long as the
actually,
thing,
according to my journal on, so, this is like, boom, 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 boom. Like, what? Wait, you were with me 5 minutes
Who is this
ago.
man?
Yeah. I was like, this other article I read last week, and then you just, what's your thoughts on that? Like, wait,
that's so
this
funny.
guy was different 5 minutes ago. What happened?
Have you ever done that? Where you have where you're like have a mask and then all of a sudden it's like
Take off the mask while you're
revealed.
talking
You
to
take
somebody?
off the
Yeah,
mask
yeah.
while you're talking to somebody. It's like a whole personality shift.
No,
What
but I
was
want
that?
to do it now. It sounds fun.
Did you guys see Primal Fear?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Richard
Oh,
Gere.
that's
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
Yes.
that's the best example of
That's
this of
the
all
Yeah.
best.
time. Yeah.
Yes. It's such a good movie. I
Oh
saw
my
that when
God,
I was in
fantastic.
Albany.
Oh,
Man, that movie is so old, guys.
Or
Oh my
or
God.
like Kaiser Sose.
Kaiser Soze, yes,
That
yes.
these are my
The
idols. Like
usual
usual
suspects.
Sose. Yeah,
Yeah.
like these are my idols. Like those scenes where they've been building this thing up and then they boom.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They like,
Yep.
those guys are like, that's the ultimate skill,
Fight Club is not masking, but it's that kind of feel, where
Yeah,
everything's going
we're
through.
just watching Fight Club with Sam for the first time, like
Oh,
last
you
night.
watch it.
Yeah.
What's he
Guys,
think?
sorry, go ahead. And then I'm gonna tell you about Fight Club. Go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, what does Sam think of Fight Club?
Oh, he loves it. It's great. Like we have a harder and harder time getting him to like sit through movies now because like, kids are,
Today's time. Yeah, I know.
yeah,
Guys,
Yeah.
the people I work with, if I say to them the first rule of Fight Club, they have
nope.
no idea what I'm talking
Oh,
Yeah,
about.
I know.
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding
Yeah.
Oh
Like
my
if
gosh.
you said that, they would be like, no punching in the face.
Oh, they would know what that means. That should be
me?
like a classroom. Somebody should have their classroom set up with the rules of Fight Club, but switch it to classroom.
Yeah.
My new
First room of
principal,
209 is
she
don't talk about tour.
my new principal, she sent an email. She said, oh, we're having a superintendent visit. And then and 2 days later, she sent an email saying, I apologize, superintendent's visiting next week. And she put a picture of Ross from Friends and put the words pivot over it. Now, if anybody knows that show, right? Pivot, right? We all know what that means. But the youngins, no
I don't know what
idea.
I'm talking about.
No idea.
I've had this
Well,
problem.
we're watching Stranger Things with Dylan, right?
Yeah.
So we're in like season 4. We're almost done because Cindy and I watched already, and he didn't. So we're like, we decided to watch the whole thing over, and like you said, Rob, it's like something sort of like sitting through, and we're able to watch something with him from beginning to end on the characters, and we talk about the characters and everything, and but there's a lot of like there's so many references in during it, and so when they would come up, I just feel like that's a reference to this movie here, from
Yeah.
this, that's a reference to this. They wouldn't have any idea. Then they wouldn't. That's like 30, 40 years.
Wait, what
later.
were they what? Stranger Things.
Because they have so many references,
Yeah.
with the 80s movies. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's so many different themes.
It's like Cobra
Beale
Kai
Street,
too.
this, that.
Cobra Kai with
Yeah.
all the references to,
Yeah.
Which I've
Oh
never
yeah,
seen.
Cobra Kai does a lot
Which
as
I will
well.
say.
you can enjoy
But
Cobra Kai without ever having seen the originals, but like it's so less rich to me if you know.
That's what we did.
I
We
do find
watched
myself.
it. And, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go
No,
ahead.
you go. No, you go.
I was going to say, I do find myself watching things that my kids are watching, whether it's on TikTok or like Austin started watching, I think it's called Gen V. It's a show like that's like from The Boys.
Oh yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if you guys
yeah. Right.
So like I'm like, I know I'm going to watch those shows, but those shows and those things that they're doing from TikTok or whatever are things that I find myself like learning because I want to be able to relate to students.
Yep.
So it's not because I want to have
Yes.
that connection with my kids.
Yep.
Because it's more of like a connection with my student kids, my kids who I work with.
Yeah, we talked about
So.
this when we talked about like using analogies in teaching, like using analogies to movies and like to transfer, you know. And I have
Right.
to admit, like I find that harder and harder to do the older
Yeah.
I get. And I've had this problem, like even just doing like like working with college age pre-service teachers, like teaching them as a you know, at the university, or working with teachers in a PD capacity. I've had so many times where I try to use the Karate Kid as an analogy or a metaphor for transfer. You know, having kids do something in the classroom that they are just having fun doing, and then like later having them like eliciting the memory and having them transfer the relationship between that activity and like something in science, like Matt, like screw,
That's
washer, anchor.
Mr. Miyagi. That's the Mr. Miyagi
Exactly.
training, right?
But when
Yeah,
someone
but they
doesn't
we
don't
did a
know
lot
who
of
that is.
when someone doesn't know Mr. Miyagi or Karate Kid, they don't understand like paint the fence, sand the deck, wash
No,
the
of course.
cars. They don't understand the transfer. You
No,
know
it's
what I mean?
basically transferring a skill, and then
Right.
they don't know they're learning the skill because
Yes.
they're
So what
having
do
so
you
much
use
fun.
now? Like, what are the analogies that
That-
you can use?
That's what makes it difficult. So Broogie, I find
Oh, I
myself
have a million. I
also
could just name them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I
no,
go
but
ahead.
it has to be. So for example, if you're
Be
with
relevant to
yes,
their generation.
if you're with a group who doesn't know Karate Kid, it's likely that they don't know another 20 things that I could pull out of my bag that are in that same.
Right.
So I find myself like gravitating towards content that I think the younger kids are watching so that I can have more stuff in my bag to use for transfer
I
analogy.
know this might be hard. Do you have an example of something that you've used recently that is something that their language?
Well, a huge one for me is like because I'm into games and gaming would be like games like Fortnite. Like so Fortnite was a huge one for me. So like
Okay.
I studied Fortnite so that I could when Fortnite was huge with the age groups that I was working with, so I could use it as direct analogy in my instruction. Minecraft is another great one. So
Right.
like anything in the gaming realm,
Roblox.
Roblox. I'm trying to think of other ones though. If I was still teaching younger kids, for example, I would make time to watch like K-pop Demon Hunters,
Yes. Yes.
which I haven't seen, but I'm just saying
But
like
you should,
I know that
right?
kids are watching it, so I would make it a
Yep.
point to study that so that I can reference it. And even if I have a surface understanding of it, if I can just make that, I just need I need a thread. I need one thread of a connection
So like
to pull them
my
in.
advice to you
we were
is
always
you
good
should
with taking
watch this.
something. Go ahead.
Wait, what'd you say, Brooke?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say like one for me is K-pop Demon Hunters for sure, but also The Summer I Turned Pretty. That is like
Okay.
a huge like everyone
Cindy
like
likes
that's
that.
on Netflix. You got or not Netflix Prime. You guys should definitely watch it just so that
I just watch it. She wants me to watch it, and I don't feel like
everyone
watching it. I was like, yeah,
Jeff and I watch it. He loves it. He loves
yeah,
it.
okay.
It's really ridiculous.
I
But
think I make a
it's
joke about it that
relevant to the younger generation. It's something that you should be watching for sure, especially because we're educating younger people. We need to be able to relate to them.
Yeah.
I think I made a joke that my dog wrote it to Cindy, is the screenwriter of it, and was like, it's about, it's so she's saying that it's about her life. It's the dog saying that Summer I became pretty. You had to be there. Anyway.
But you should know, like, are you team Conrad or are you team Jeremiah? Like, those are things that you should know.
You can.
I guess if I watch it, then I will know what you're talking about.
You can kind of wing it too. So like the first summer when I was teaching like private camps out in the Hamptons, I remember preparing for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I'm going to go out there and teach, this like private camp out in the Hamptons. It's going to be a really big deal for me. And so, I have a car filled with all these things. I've been, and I get out there and then right when I arrive, like literally 20 minutes before I'm like about to see the kids, they're on like a private charter fishing or something, and they're on their way home. The parent goes, "Oh, do you think you could like the kids are really into?" I had never heard of Fortnite at this time because it just started. They're really into this game, Fortnite, right? So I'm like, holy shit! Like, I'm gonna see these kids in 20 minutes. Like, this is what they're obsessed with. I've never even heard of it. So the kids come in, we sit down. The first thing I say to them is, "Welcome to Fortnite camp." Right.
Oh,
So I've never even fucking heard of Fortnite, right? So then the kids are hooked. Like, so Matt, this is the hook. The kids are now hooked. And then, but then I'm acting all mysterious. I'm like, I can't reveal too much right now, but just know that we are going to be, and then like that night I'm home, like
you're
figuring out
digesting
everything I can
Fortnite.
possibly
Yeah.
It's
learn,
Fortnite.
you know, and it worked out
I go
great, but
behind the desk and get a few things quickly. Fortnite. What are they? What's the best saying of Fortnite? What's the best saying of Fortnite? Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like, and this is before we had AI, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you can ask ChatGPT for like a list of ideas, you know what I mean? Like, you could use Google, but it's not the same,
There's
So,
ways also like when you're with kids, like you can just go by what every kid is in, but you can also when you find out, they're interested in different things, and then
yeah.
pull that out for the class and connect it to that. Like that, it could be what everyone's into, but it could be like certain kids like follow this or do this or do that. Sort of add that to your class to help out,
Yeah.
especially challenging kids. The challenging kids, like if you find out they have an interest or something they're into, even if it's not a popular interest, go to town with that, and then like that can definitely help you. Or you know, uh, you find out like we had a kid emotionally disturbed, but he was obsessed with Star Wars. You know. And he was violent, this, that. I was like, oh man, I just became that. I had so much Star Wars going on just to even greet him before he came into my room,
Yeah.
just so we can connect on that level.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's important, right? To find out
Yeah.
what's relevant to them and their age and learn it and so you can use it in your lessons.
Yep.
All right,
Well,
boys.
Yeah. I think we have to
I'm looking
wrap
at
this
the
one up.
time and like we've been going on for a long time
Holy
here.
sh!
Yeah.
I know, but we haven't seen each other in like weeks.
This is true. This is true. Oh,
So,
yeah. So, yeah. And part of the reason for that is I had surgery 1 month ago. And maybe we'll talk about that next time. Because I don't know how much I got into. Like, did I tell you guys, like, about the actual surgery? Like, how that went?
Yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
you were
I think
describing that.
yeah.
So,
I don't know how much detail you went into. You went in a little bit of detail
yeah.
with
Well,
me.
You were telling about when they were going in and stuff like that.
yeah, next time we'll talk a little bit about what it feels like to have to bypass general anesthesia and to have a
Okay.
surgery where you are fully awake and can hear and smell and everything that's going
Oh,
on, and
Jesus.
talking to the surgeon as they're like basically cutting you open and doing stuff inside your body. So
On the next playing teacher,
On the next playing teacher, Rob is
cutting
playing
inside your
surgeon.
body. Rob's going to take us on a special journey
Rob,
through his
did you
body
Rob
did
is
you
without
now.
anesthesia.
did you guys ever play the game Operation? Man, I wish I
Oh
would
my
have thought
God.
of that during the surgery. I should have made those noises. Like,
Oh my God, I gotta end with a quick
Stop.
joke about that. So Dylan is a wise guy like us, and but I didn't realize how much he was getting a suit put on a try. He was, they were, tailoring a suit for him, and he's putting it on. I think this was for my mother's funeral, like 3 years ago. And I remember the suit was being tailored, and the guy's, all right, I gotta go over here with this needle, and this very serious guy, just 'cause, I don't want to hit you, just making sure. And Dylan's like,
wait, did he scream or like
oh, the
making?
guy, I think the guy didn't really understand, like
Yeah.
he just maybe stopped and just kept going. But the guy didn't sell it, but Cindy and I were like, he's like, I'm just kidding. Cindy and I were like, oh man, what did we create? It's like, that was great though. It's good timing.
I love it.
Anyway,
All
All
right.
right, guys.
Well, maybe next time we still have a topic lined up for next time. Actually, Matt, the one that
Yeah.
you texted.
Yeah, we
so-
have a topic here, and
I
we'll
can't
hear,
believe like
Ken's
my
future story.
random topic we took
That was
an hour and
good.
45 minutes to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, look at what it.
Sweet.
I
Yeah.
like how it, like I'll shoot a topic, and then we're like, this good, guys, you want to do this? And then we're like, Brooke will just say, like one word, and like that's what we're talking about for an hour and a half. Or we can go with this thing that she just
It's like,
said. Is one.
I
That's
might
probably a lot
derail
better.
this.
Let's go with that. Keep talking about what she said, Matt. And I'm like, okay, yes, no,
All right.
All right,
Well,
Matt, no.
Matt, you want to take us out of here?
yeah. Thanks for tuning in to Playing Teacher. I'm Matt, Rob, and Brood. When we will catch you on the next one, and thanks for stopping by. Bye bye.
Bye.